I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to Bible in Plain View. Today we'll be dealing with tongue twister. Flee fornication. I'm Brother DeMarcus, and we have
Brother Kevin.
We'll be presenting the Word of God to you guys today. Fornication. It covers a lot of topics. It covers a lot. And it's something that's taken lightly. And we're going to see inside of the commandments is that, certain commandments we will uphold. Why? It's because we know there is a major consequence behind, if I go next door and just, blow somebody's brains out in the middle of the day. We know that more than likely we're going to probably do some time. So that's a commandment inside of the commandment saying thou shalt not kill. We may honor that for the most part. We may honor, thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother for the most part. But usually, when you in the world, man, fornication is something hard to take control of. So that's why the title is Flee From It, because it can also get you cut off from God. So we coming unto God, we supposed to present ourselves as a sacrifice. Meaning like we supposed to have killed that old man. Now when we come unto the Lord, we knew. Like the brother was teaching, the newness of life. Now we trying to make sure we endure to the end without spot or blemish. But this fornication is something that is taking control of man. And what I mean by that is, like the brother was teaching about the attack against our kids. Like even our kids are dealing with things in these schoolhouses because they're easily influenced, thinking that it's okay to, sleep with this, and that. When, that's going to get you killed if you continue to keep that activity going throughout life. But even me riding, listening to the radio is just promoting this. You listening to music because music or words is spiritual. So if you continue to allow those words to seep and root in your mind, eventually you'll carry out the act. But enough of talking. Let's get into the book. Let's get into the Bible because, the Bible is pretty clear pertaining to this sin. This is a sin that can cut you off. Premarital sex can get you cut off from God. So what we should do is, after listening to this class, praying that the viewers are tuning in, get understanding is, man, keep yourself until you find your mate that you're going to die with. Keep yourself. So Exodus chapter 20, and let's pick it up at Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Exodus 20 and 12. And let's take a look at the commandments. 20 and 12. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and prophesy.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that their days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
And that's very true. See, we ain't going to cover all the commandments, but, we're going to get to the root of the matter. But we see is that God said clearly, honor your father and your mother. That's a commandment. And like I was saying, for the most part, we do keep that commandment. What does it say in verse 13, though?
Thou shalt not kill.
Now, we're not going to do that for the most part. And the reason why I say the most part, because you do have some people out here who doing this. And they locked away because they doing this. Killing. But we know within this room or even the next door or whatever, that we not going to just be killing. But what it say in verse 14, though?
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Now, thou shalt not commit adultery. Now, understanding adultery is when another man takes another man's wife. That would be adultery. A married man find his wife in the bed with a man, that's adultery. It also can fall up under fornication. Because on the other end, if a married man sleep with a single sister and don't make a covenant, now you fornicating. So in other words, we see is that even God said within the commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. So you got to understand is that the 10, they cover a lot of commandments that we won't read right here in Exodus 20. But there are commandments that fall up under this banner, like the brother was reading in Matthew. So we see is that even God said, thou shalt not commit adultery. Let's go over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 7 real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Let's check out, Paul. Because, Paul ain't going to say nothing no different. He going to read exactly what we just read in the law. He was a Pharisee. You know what I mean? So he didn't deviate from the law. He just furthered our understanding. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Now, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. Meaning, like, you touching a woman. What verse 2 say? I ain't even going to say it. What verse 2 say?
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication.
Because that can lead to that avenue. You sitting there, you touching, and, words get exchanged, and next thing you know, it don't lead you off on the deep end. So Paul is letting you know is that, like, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, go ahead.
Let every man have his own wife.
See, there is a proper protocol as to how, a man and a woman is supposed to come together. They're not just supposed to be wrestling in between the sheets and that's it. Nah, they supposed to have made a covenant with one another. The covenant is that, hey, I'm going to take this woman to be my wife until she die. In like manner. Now, we don't make this agreement, this covenant before God. Now we're going to carry that out. That's why Paul is saying, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. Go ahead.
And let every woman have her own husband.
And every woman have her own husband. Keep reading.
Let the husband render unto the wife.
I'm sorry. Skip down to verse 6 and read that.
But I speak this by permission.
Go ahead.
And not of commandment.
Keep reading.
For I would that all men were even as myself.
So even as Paul himself letting you know is that, like, Paul, he didn't have a wife. Because he went ahead and married to he went ahead and, married himself to the Lord. Meaning that's all Paul was dealing with, the businesses of God. So that's why Paul is letting you know is that, like, for I would that all men were even as I myself. Go ahead.
But every man have his proper gift of God.
Go ahead.
One after this manner, and one after this manner, and other after that.
So, Paul would prefer us to be like him, but guess what? God has given us all gifts. One after this manner and another after that. What does it say in verse 8, though?
I say, therefore, to the unmarried and the widows,
go ahead.
It is good for them if they abide even as I.
Keep reading.
But if they cannot contain, let them marry.
You see that? Like, if you can't contain yourself, if you can't keep yourself in check, if you can't control your flesh, go ahead and get you a wife. Because what's going to happen if you don't? Go ahead.
For it is better to marry than to burn.
It's better to get married than to burn in the lake of fire. That's what Paul is letting you know right here. So you out here sleeping around with Sarah, Susie, and Sim. Hey, guess what? All that's going to lead you to hell. It truly will. So Paul is letting you know is that, like, look here. It is better for you to marry than to burn. See, you got to realize, like, God going to give you a way out of situations. We're going to read that in the class. God gives you a way out of situations. But, man, we prefer to take our own route. Our own route. Not God's route. Our own route. But you got to realize, like, God is going to always give you a plan or an escape route out of situations that's going to get you jammed up by him. He's going to give you an out route. But let's go a little bit further, though. Let's go over here to Numbers chapter 25. Numbers chapter 25. And let's pick it up at verse 1. Numbers 25 and verse 1. Numbers chapter 25 and verse 1. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and read it.
And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
So the children of Israel, right after they came out of Egypt, into the wilderness. They started to commit whoredom. Whoredom is another form of fornication. This is what the children of Israel was doing with other nations. But what it say in verse 2, though?
And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods.
Go ahead.
And the people did eat.
Keep reading.
And bowed down to their gods.
So they was dealing with idolatry as well. They was dealing with idolatry. They was also committing whoredom. But what it say in verse 3, though?
And Israel joined himself unto Baal-peor.
Go ahead.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel.
Now, God was angry at this. It's because this nation of people, I just put my laws, statutes, and commandments in their head, and yet they still turned around and they committing whoredom, as well as sacrificing to other gods. So God was angry at this. What he said to Moses in verse 4, though?
And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people.
Go ahead.
Hang them up before the Lord against the sun.
Now, God God's straight to the point. And he letting you know, I said, look here, take all their heads and hang them up against the sun. Go ahead.
That the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel.
So it's like now, sacrifice these people or kill them. Because you know what? The anger of the Lord is still going to be upon the children of Israel if you don't. So God is saying, look here, Moses, go ahead and take all the heads of these people that was committing whoredom and worshiping other gods. Go ahead and kill them. But what it say in verse 5, though?
And Moses said unto the judges of Israel,
go ahead.
Slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal-peor.
Verse 6, keep reading.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses.
Now they brought now one of the Israelites brought a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses. Now, after the Lord just got on Israel about committing whoredom, you mean to tell me you still finna bring a woman of another nation amongst me? Like this nation got you to err and fall away from the Lord. So now Moses is checking out this sight. What did he say?
And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel.
So in the sight of all the congregation, in the congregation of the children of Israel, like it's the norm, like it's okay. That's what it seemed like as you read this. He did it loosely, like, okay, shoot, everybody else doing it, so I guess I can do it. That's what it seemed like, but keep reading, though.
Who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Go ahead.
And when the Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand.
Go ahead.
And he went after the man of Israel into the tent.
So he went in the tent, and what did he do?
And thrust both of them through.
Go ahead.
The man of Israel and the woman through her belly.
Keep reading.
So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. Like he went in and killed both of them. He like, nah, look here, we got to get this plague from among us. So he went in, took a javelin, and thrust both of them through. What is it in verse 9, though?
And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
That's a lot of people who died from the plague. 24,000. Now, I understand this, you guys, is that, if we still partaking in whoredom or fornication, guess what? Like, when the Lord returns, you're going to be a part of that number that was of the past. Meaning, like, you're going to get killed if you continue to carry out these acts. See, when you come to the Lord, you got to clean yourself up. You got to put away, like I was saying earlier, you got to put away that old man or that old woman. You got to. Because if not, you're going to be dead. And the death that we can read is eternal. And we don't want to be a part of that. But what is it in verse 10, though?
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, have turned my wrath away from the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
While he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy.
See, Eleazar's son, Phinehas, he turned the wrath of the Lord away from the nation. Because like the Lord just said, it's like, he was zealous for my sake. Because if he hadn't been zealous or if he hadn't done this, guess what? This plague would have plagued the nation of Israel. But let's go a little bit further, though. That's it on that? Let me see. Yeah, that's it on that. Let's go over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And verse 1. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and read it.
Moreover, brethren,
Go ahead.
I would not that you should be ignorant.
Keep reading.
How that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea,
Keep going.
and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea.
And this taking you all the way back to the days of Moses. How when the nation of Israel came up out of Egypt. So as a nation, they was baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea when they came through the Red Sea. That all represent the nation of Israel being baptized as a nation. But what it say in verse 3 though?
And did all eat the same spiritual meat.
Go ahead.
And did all drink the same spiritual drink.
Keep reading.
For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ.
So they all received the same doctrine. It wasn't a doctrine here or a doctrine there that was contrary one to another. No, they all received the same faith, one baptism, and one God. That was all they received. So that's why it says what? They ate the same spiritual meat. Nah, they didn't eat something different and then they came with this. Nah, it was spiritual. They all received or drunk the same spiritual drink, which was Christ. But what it say in verse 5 though?
But with many of them God was not well pleased.
See, God wasn't well pleased with some of them. We read some of that in Numbers chapter 25. Even in the whole book of Numbers, but it's going to say it right here. Go ahead.
For they were overthrown in the wilderness.
Keep going.
Now these things were our examples.
Keep going.
To the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted.
So they lusted after evil things. And guess what? What we read in Numbers 25 is just an example for we ourselves here today in the body of Christ don't lust after evil things. Because, when you lust after evil things, look here, man, that mind could take you far from the deep end. It truly can. And now your lust is not just thoughts. It becomes literal. Meaning it becomes physical. Now you carrying out your mindset. You see how that works? So we see is that God just said through the mouth of Paul, letting you know is that now these things were our examples in the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. What it say in verse 7 though?
Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them.
Go ahead.
As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play.
And rose up to play. What it say in verse 8?
Neither let us commit fornication.
Go ahead.
As some of them committed and fell in one day 23,000.
Now we just saw that, right? So we seeing Numbers 20. This is the understanding of the whole complete Bible. This is why, Paul ain't saying nothing different. He's just furthering your understanding. That's pretty much what he's doing. So we see is that Paul going way back to the Old Testament. He ain't giving you nothing different. He going back to the Old Testament letting you know is that, guess what? This example that we read in Numbers 25, hey, let that be good for you not to lust after evil. Because guess what Christ did to those that got up and committed idolatry or got up and committed fornication with the daughters of Moab? Guess what happened? He killed them. 24,000 of them died, so you don't want to be in that number. Keep reading though, brother.
Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents.
Let's go a little bit further though. Let's go over here to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel chapter 16. And let's pick it up at you know what? I'm sorry, we ain't read verse 13. Let's go back to that 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and just read that one verse, verse 13. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
There have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man.
Now we know, fornication is common to all of us. You know what I mean? Like all of us of the past, See, that's like the brother was teaching is that, how we now are the children of the light and not children of the darkness. Because all of us in our past darkness, we always come to this sin, fornication. So that's why Paul is saying, is that like, look here, there have no temptation taking you but such as is common to man. Go ahead.
But God is faithful.
Keep reading.
Who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able.
You see that? God said he ain't going to let you suffer. See, you got to realize, like, God going to open the door for you to get out of sin. But it's on you if you want to take that door or if you want to go through the hat. Because look at what Paul say. Keep reading. What it say?
But will with the temptation also make a way to escape.
Go ahead.
That you may be able to bear it.
Exactly. So he going to make a way for you to escape. If you get caught up in a jam and you in a sister room, hey, guess what? Light bulb going to come on your head. Hey, man, am I trying to make a covenant with this sister? Or am I just trying to sleep with her? I might be just trying to sleep with her. Hey, it was nice talking to you. I got to go. I'm sorry it even got to this point, but I got to go. That's the escape in your mind. Because you already been convicted by the commandments. You already know that, we saw in the commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. But we also know on the other side of that is fornication involved in that as well. So we going to get up out of that jam. So we see is that God, nah, man, he ain't trying to get you to suffer. God ain't putting temptation in front of you. But you know what's beauty about it? God is going to give you a plan to get out of it. The one who's putting temptation in front of you is your own mind. That's it. So we see right here is that the Lord is letting you know is that, guess what? He's going to create an escape for you out of this sin. Let's go over to Ezekiel 9. Ezekiel chapter 5, and we got 3 more places. Ezekiel chapter 16, not 5. Ezekiel chapter 16. And let's look at verse 26. I ain't think I needed to put this. I think I was overkilling it, but
26.
Yeah, we'll read it.
All right.
Ezekiel 16 to 26. When you get it, you can go ahead and read it, brother.
Thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors.
See, Israel don't slept with a lot of people, man. Like, we was tripping. But we see is that what? Thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors. Go ahead.
Greater flesh.
Keep going.
And has increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger.
You see how this making God angry? Like, this sin is, like, pissing God off. Because we supposed to be a difference to the world. We supposed to let the world know that, hey, man, get married before you start, giving yourself up. Get married. Wait. Put yourself in subjection to God. Keep reading, though.
Behold, therefore, I have stretched out my hand over thee.
Go ahead.
And have diminished thy ordinary food, and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee, the daughters of the Philistines, which are ashamed, and they lewd away.
Go ahead, verse 28.
Thou hast played the whore also with the Assyrians, because thou was insatiable. Yea, thou hast played the harlot with them, and yet couldst not be satisfied.
Okay, let's go over here to James chapter 1. James chapter 1. And let's pick it up at verse 12. James chapter 1 and verse 12. When you get it, go ahead and read it, brother.
Blessed is the man that endureth temptation.
Go ahead.
For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
So when you try and you endure this temptation, guess what? The Lord going to give you the crown of life. But keep reading, though.
Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God.
Go ahead.
For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempted he any man.
So he's not going to tempt man with evil. That's not God. God has no darkness in him. He's not going to do any of that. So it just says that For God cannot tempt man, be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man. What does it say in verse 14?
But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust.
Go ahead.
And enticed.
So entice, go ahead.
Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin.
So it brings forth this sin. Now you got to realize is that, lust don't always fall in the category of, you laying with another woman. Lust can be of, you have a desire to want to steal, or you have a desire to, want to kill. It don't always necessarily have to fall in the category of the criteria of you fornicating. Everybody don't commit fornication for the most part. But you got to realize is that it is going on amongst us today. So we see is that even in James letting you know is that then when lust have conceived, it bring forth sin. And what else, brother?
When it's finished, bring it forth death.
So when all of that is said and done, guess what? It's death on the table now. That's what James is saying right here. But what is it in verse 16?
Do not err, my beloved brethren.
Do not err. Meaning keep this to mind. Do not err, my beloved brother. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and let's pick it up at verse 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And verse 15, verse 15, when you get it, go ahead and read it, my brother.
Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ?
Go ahead.
Shall I then take the members of Christ?
Hold on, I'm sorry. No, you're in the right place. I'm just in the wrong place. Start at from the top, 15. Start at the top of 15. I was in the wrong place. Go ahead.
Start with 15 again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ?
Go ahead.
Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of a harlot?
What did it say?
God forbid.
So nah, you not. That's what happened when, you sleeping around with multiple women and you ain't making a covenant. Guess what? You now have joined yourself to each woman that you haven't made a covenant with. That's why Paul is letting you know is that then shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of harlot? God forbid. What he said in verse 16?
What? Know ye not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body?
Exactly. See, you don't became one with the harlot. Somebody who you was just a jump off, if that's what you want to call her, guess what? You just made yourself one with her. Keep reading though.
For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit.
See, you one spirit when you joined yourself into the Lord. You became one spirit. What does it say in verse 18?
Flee fornication.
So run from fornication. That's like when it's time to get up out of here and flee to the wilderness, man, we're going to put on our running shoes and jet. So the Lord is telling you the same thing right here about fornication. Man, get away from it. Flee it. Keep yourself in subjection unto the Lord. Keep going, though.
Every sin that a man doeth is without the body.
See, you got to realize every sin that a man do, it's not always with the body. That's like if you steal something. You can repay that. That's not with the body. But what it say, though?
But he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body.
See, you don't sin against your own body when you commit fornication. Because like Paul was saying is that now when you have joined yourself into a harlot, you don't made yourself one. So this is the sinning against your body because you have went inside and now blood has exchanged. Now y'all one flesh. But that wasn't the intent. That wasn't the mindset. You was just trying to get a quick fix and that was it. But nah, you making a quick fix for yourself to be in the lake of fire. That's what you're doing. So we see right here, we see that the Lord is letting you know is that, guess what? There is a sin that's against the body, but there is also a sin that's without the body. We see that sin that's against the body is when you join yourself into a harlot. Let's go to the last place real quick. Let's go over to Galatians chapter 5. And this is the last place. You got to be quick about it. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. When you get it,
You got it in your book.
James, let's go back some. God eat potato chips. That's how we always learned it. Right there, bam.
Okay. Chapter 6.
Nah, you 5. Yeah, 5 and 6. 5 and 16.
Okay, 5 and 16.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, my brother.
Okay. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
See, you're going to not fulfill the lust of the flesh when you're walking in the spirit. That's what we saw in 1 Corinthians. We saw that what? It says that when you join yourself unto Christ, you have joined yourself unto one spirit. So we see is that, guess what? You are not going to fulfill the lust of your flesh if you walking in the spirit. What it says 17?
For the flesh lusteth against the spirit.
Go ahead.
And the spirit against the flesh.
Keep reading.
And these are contrary the one to another.
Go ahead.
So that you cannot do the things that you would.
Skip down to verse 19 and read that.
Now the works of the flesh are manifest.
Now these are the works of the flesh. We see is that the spirit and the flesh, they don't go together. Meaning they are enmity against one another. So now we finna see what are the works of the flesh. Go ahead.
Which are these: adultery.
Go ahead.
Fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry.
Skip down to verse 21 and read that.
Envying, murders, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have told also, as I have also told you in the time past.
Go ahead.
That they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God.
You shall not inherit the kingdom of God, brothers and sisters, if you still have fornication on your plate. You won't. That's what Paul is letting you know. So again, the title is Flee Fornication. I pray. Yeah, I fixed it. Oh. I came back and fixed it.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. I had in that
Okay, you good.
Okay. Okay. So again, I pray that somebody got some understanding. I thank you for your time. In Jesus' name. Peace. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Yes, sir. Good job reading.
Hung up a couple of times.
Oh, nah, man. You fine, my brother. You was nervous?
No, I just,
okay. I was just asking. I don't think you was nervous.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
You was doing all the work.
You did?
You did? Oh, see, you was ready.
I read. Yeah, I just, pulled it. Like, oh, it ain't sent it to you. I just made it look like it blended.
Okay.
In other words, yeah, because I had came back on that 1 Corinthians. No, that James. That's when I had correct.
Okay.
And that James, I went out like,
Yeah, I think that's when he farted. That's when he farted.
That's when he walked about. That's why he walked about here like that.
Trying to stop from sneezing loud, and they farted. He laid it down, bro. He laid it down with top-notch confidence. That's what's up, man. Boy, very impressive day, man. God, man, y'all brothers.
Why is he downloading that? Why is he looking? Huh? You do? Wow, man.
Who you talking about?
He just make music.
Oh, you talking about your son?
Great lesson, buddy.
Hey, he reminds me of little brothers that have a lot of zeal. And you don't see them now.
Right.
Oh, man, this is so good. Oh, my God, I'm a freaking guy.
Hey,
He disappeared.
They done seen that when persecution came and
Yeah, man.
they was ready for the word.
That's how what's his name was?
Look.
What's the boy name?
The one who started eating the pork.
The Gentile.
He pork.
Oh, Jake.
Oh, he pork, brother. I just fish and chicken.
Jake.
We talking about Jake.
Jake was zealous.
He was zealous, man. And when persecution came,
We don't see Jake no more.
he done got baptized too.
Yep.
Oh, that's the one who went back to World Chain.
Nuh-uh. It was a Gentile.
Oh, okay. Gentile. That was
That's Joseph on.
I'm proud of myself. You talking about Caucasian brother, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.